So you just been asked to shoot your first wedding proposal as a surprise/engagement session, and you don't know where to start. Well, lucky for you, I'm going to put together this video with a step-by-step tutorial on how you can put yourself in a position to succeed if, of course, you've never shot one before. So grab a pen and paper and let's roll that intro. So good to be seen, and it's even better to see what's going on. Welcome back to another video. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to shoot your first surprise wedding proposal/engagement session, whatever you want to call it, if this is in fact your first time and you do not know how to go about it. So first thing that you should know is this is no easy task. This is going to be, I'm not going to say as important as a wedding, but it's definitely right underneath that in terms of the importance for a couple. So grab your pen and paper and let's go ahead and get started with step number one. And step number one to me is definitely scouting your location. Now, Abraham is a former buddy of mine from work, and he found out that I went full-time with photography and entrusted me to capture this beautiful moment. So the first thing that we did, we scouted the location. The first plan A, if you will, was a rooftop garden overlooking El Morro Fortress, which is a staple and a landmark here in Old San Juan, and it provides the most gorgeous sunsets you've ever seen. And so we scoped out the place. We both liked it, but management sort of threw a curveball later and said that they would require a $2,000 deposit. So unfortunately, that was a no-go for Abe. However, there's this gorgeous beach right down the road. It's called Escambron, which has gorgeous sunsets in and of itself. And we decided that that was the place to, get Abe on one knee. And so I took it upon myself to scout the place first. I got there the day before, and I wanted to know four things. Number one, where he is actually going to propose. Number two, my vantage point from which I would take those very important first few pictures. Number three, whether or not I needed to hide in the bushes that existed, or I was just going to be hiding in plain sight as a bystander, just having a picnic. And finally, the amount of natural light, how long it would stay up, and just figuring out basic golden hour photography. So my first step into capturing this beautiful engagement session is to scout your location. Whatever it is in your neck of the woods, give yourself some time, visit the place 1 or 2 days before, or at the very least, at least 6 hours before you're scheduled to take that very first, pressing of the shutter, and put yourself in a position to succeed right off the bat. My second recommendation for capturing a beautiful wedding proposal is to get there early. Now, this is maybe an extension of the first point, but you definitely want to get there early so that you make sure that your spot is not taking and everything is going according to plan. This is more of a logistics kind of thing, but you definitely want to get there early. If hypothetically speaking, you're scheduled to be there at 5, try to get there at the very least an hour to an hour and a half to set up shop and make sure everything is going to go smoothly. Number three, and this is where we start having some fun, is figuring out what lenses to buy. Now, my first workhorse for this kind of scenario is to grab yourself a nice telephoto lens. I went with my RF 70-200, and that was basically home for the first 10 to 15 minutes. Why? Because you want to keep a safe distance. The last thing you want to do is give yourself away by grabbing a camera and just looking at them funny with a side eye. The last thing you want to do is basically have the bride sort of scope you out and get uncomfortable and sort of awkward right before you're about to, see the groom take a knee. So grab yourself a nice telephoto lens. Again, my recommendation is a 70-200. You can use a 100 if you're comfortable enough, a 135 f2 from Canon. It's an old but beautiful lens, and basically something that will allow you to have a good safe distance, because the last thing you want to do is spoil the fun. You've worked so hard to get here, and you definitely don't want to be that guy. So that's the first lens that I recommend you grabbing. After those very important shots, you definitely want to grab something with a fast aperture for those beautiful sunset portraits. I went with the 85 RF, which I actually just reviewed. I'll link it up here if you want to check it out. This was my go-to lens for, I want to say, 50 to 55% after using the 70-200, because I wanted to capture that blown out background and sort of isolate them as beautifully as I could. And finally, I did bring my 100 macro for those detail shots, nice close-up of the ring. And, I think he was sporting a nice shirt, so I wanted to get close-ups of that. So those are the 3 lenses that I recommend. Get yourself a nice telephoto for the very beginning stages of this moment. Get yourself a nice wide aperture lens. It could be a 50, 1.2 or 1.4. It could be an 85. Those are my 2 focal ranges that I am recommending in this video. And finally, a nice macro shot. It could be a semi-macro like a RF 35, 1.8, or get yourself a nice 100 macro 2.8. I definitely recommend those 3 lenses for this shoot. So when it comes to shooting a wedding proposal, time is of the essence, and with time comes cues that you need to follow and get on the same page with the person doing the proposing. In this case, more likely than not, it will definitely be the groom. So you and the groom need to get on the same page as far as timing is concerned. And what better way to do that than to have cues? Now, for example, Abe and I went with a time cue. At 6:03, literally 6:03, he would be getting down on one knee so that I can make preparations with my 70-200, put that thing in my hand as a gun, and just shoot away at those very huge and paramount initial moments of him down on one knee. For you guys, it could literally be anything. It could be scratching the beard, it could be scratching the back of your head, it could be, tugging on your shirt, whatever the case may be. Have something that will give you the signal that it's about to go down. Now, the magic is starting to happen, and I'm going to call this the shot. This is the one shot that you cannot miss. So the cue, going back to what I just said, is paramount in this instance. You definitely want to have the groom or whoever is doing the proposing down on one knee. This is a classic shot when it comes to wedding proposal, and you cannot afford to miss this. I would hate for you to miss this shot because you're fumbling on YouTube watching this video, right? And so you don't want to be that person that misses the most climactic moment of the entire afternoon or evening or morning, whatever you're shooting, and miss this shot. So you definitely want to have the shot. This is him or her down on one knee, whoever doing the proposing, and you definitely need this shot. So make sure that you have a nice telephoto lens, everything is working, battery is in, SD cards are in. Trust me when I say this, you do not want to miss the shot. My next recommendation for you to land beautiful pictures is to move around as if you're on a preset on a DJI drone. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Well, fact of the matter is, I was flying solo. I was a single shooter out there. And so you want to take your time by photographing both the bride and the groom reactions at the same time simultaneously. And the only way you can do that is to move around. So capture a little bit of her, capture a little bit of him, and start circling them so that you can have different vantage points and different backgrounds every time you're photographing the very early stages of this engagement session. Hopefully it goes well and she says yes. And so you definitely want to capture those first reactions. If they're tearing up, if they're straight up bawling, if they're in complete shock, hands over the mouth, over the face, over the eyes, you definitely want to capture that. So my suggestion, if you're flying solo like I did a month ago, move around like a crazy DJI drone as a preset. Now, there's a caveat. If you actually have a second shooter that can accompany and sort of ease the workload for this, what you want to do is delegate, right? You take the bride, you take the groom, and you find ways to have different vantage points so that you can simultaneously create something very special for this couple, because you definitely don't want to miss a reaction from him, a reaction from her that would essentially provide you with the best shot of the day. And so if you can go the extra mile and hire a second shooter to assist you, then it's going to be a whole different story. But again, if you're flying solo like I did, move around like a crazy person. So the very next step I'm calling the other shots. This is basically everything aside from him on one knee. Try to get creative. There's a ton of poses that you can have the couple perform for you once it's all, the nitty gritty of the afternoon or the evening or the morning is all said and done. So grab yourself a different lens. Like I said, 85 is good, 35 is good, and get creative with other shots. I personally enjoyed a couple of ring shots here and there. I posed them for a little while, and I'm going to show you these pictures now, obviously. And so try to get creative with other shots after you get the shot, which I mentioned a couple of seconds ago. But yeah, just have fun with it and try to get as creative as you can in a little short amount of time. So the next step isn't actually a step, but more of a very strong recommendation. Whenever it is that you're going to deliver these images, go the extra mile for these people. It may not be a wedding per se, but it's definitely right under in terms of the importance of the day. And you definitely want to deliver a nice gallery. I personally use Pixie for my delivery of online galleries. There are others like Zenfolio, which caught my attention, but at the end of the day, I went with Pixie. So instead of just, handing over a USB or, transferring files via WeTransfer, go the extra mile and find yourself a nice platform that you can actually deliver nice quality images in a very professional way. So there you have it. Now you know how to prepare, how to calendarize, how to shoot, and how to deliver the perfect wedding proposal as a surprise. I hope you got a little value out of this video, and if you did, hey, stick that thumb you know where. And if you want to see more videos like this one and you want to grow as a photographer, stick around. I would love to have you. Speaking of which, I hooked you up with this video right here. This is my review for the 70-200, which is paramount in this scenario. Check it out for yourself, and I'll see you in there.